So to further out talking about Crystal and the marketing, basically I think that the marketing was quite successful in the way that we had such a short amount of time and there was still enough people that came to the gig that it was still, you know, pretty busy. Crystal actually said to me afterwards it was the busiest gig that they'd ever had in Edinburgh, like headlining. So I thought that was amazing, and I think that was quite a lot due to the flyering and putting £50 behind it obviously, but the flyering especially. I did get speaking to a lot of people, a couple of people who actually ended up coming back to another couple of Bangers and Mash gigs. One of them who runs this thing called Mock It Music, who ended up using for a competition for another gig. In terms of how well matched I thought everyone was, I thought that the lineup worked so well. It was probably the most well matched lineup out of all of them because everyone was that kind of gothy, sceney, with that sort of like gothy, punky vibe. In the run up to the event, when I wanted to go flyering, I'd also wanted to go flyering in Glasgow, but I knew I couldn't get through myself. So I'd said to them, if you would be up for it, would you maybe pick up some flyers from me if you're ever through in Edinburgh, or I could post them to you, and if you're going to any gigs or club nights that you think might be worth dropping some off at, just drop some off there. To which I got another very mardy response from them, being like, you cannot ask a band to work for free. It's unreasonable for you to do this. It's your job to promote the show. To which I responded that I understood where they were coming from, and this was a massive lesson for me because I learned that but you really have to word things carefully with bands, just in case they do think that you are trying to take the mickey out of them, and also just to do everything over the phone. If you're going to have a tricky conversation with someone, asking them if they could flyer, do it over the phone, because nothing can be misconstrued and there can be no like tones taken. So that was a major lesson that I learned from working with that band. Yeah, in terms of rituals, one thing that I learned was when a band says most of our people come up and pay on the door, don't trust them. Like, just don't trust them. It's not really. And with rituals, they didn't really give me any hassle, but they did have a problem when it came. So overall, the marketing was kind of skew-whiffed a little bit by the fact I'd wanted to do the flyering in Glasgow, but there just wasn't really any way for me to do it. So yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. But one thing that I did enjoy was working with a manager. Meant that the band were sort of like kept on top of in terms of promotions, promoting it on their page, and she was constantly in touch with me about marketing the gig, and like she made sure that the band put the Crystal gig up, the Crystal competition up, and I really enjoyed that. It's the only one where I've worked with the manager, but I definitely would do it again. I prefer it to working with the bands themselves because she was a lot more switched on than the bands were. So yeah.